So it's a very early morning here. Sun's creeping up behind me, and got another watch unboxing. So this opportunity I couldn't turn down. It's another Rolex. So I mean, the Submariner is a great model, and I've always wondered about, you know, the other models are always hard to get, deep sea, Daytona, things like that. So when this came up, I had to say yes. So let's open it up. So there you can see the regular but pretty small Rolex box. It's always funny when you get you get something like an Omega Speedmaster and you get a huge box with loads of, you know, extra accessories. Here it's just the, you know, the coveted tiny little green box. So there we go. And it's Sea Dweller. So this is an amazing watch. I wore it, I've just worn it for probably a day or so. And to be honest with you, it actually doesn't really feel bigger than a Submariner. I know a lot of people talk about the size, you know, is that an issue going up? And people kind of, a lot of people lost their minds when it went from 40 millimeters to 43 millimeters. But I really don't notice any difference. I mean, for example, if I look at one comparison I was doing when I picked it up was against my Tudor, and this is, you know, a smaller watch, but if you look at both those, I mean, they look the same. Let me just take this off its little cushion. And if you look at it from the side, I mean, the Tudor does have quite a slab on it, but yeah, I mean, it's comparable. So yeah, first off, in terms of wearability and, you know, size, I don't see any issue at all. You know, for people that are considering stepping up from a Submariner in terms of the size, then yeah, I think it's good. So about the watch, so this one is the 50th anniversary one. Came out in 2017. This is actually the model that came out after 2017, so you can see, if I can get close without going out of filter, you see you got a Swiss made and then a little crown in the middle. So the 2017 model had no crown, and then the later ones did have the crown in the middle. So that's one way of telling what year you've got. In terms of other things that changed, so obviously there was the size we mentioned, going up from 40 to 43. I mean, the regular Submariners are now 41 anyway as well, so even less of a difference in a change. There's also the Cyclops, so a lot of people didn't like that. Well, the other models don't have the Cyclops for the Sea Dweller range. I don't see it as an issue. I mean, it's nice, clear, you can see the date. I mean, obviously, if you're a deep sea diver, you're not going to need the date because you're not going to be wondering what the date is. So, is it, you know, is it an issue? No, I don't think it is. I think it's actually quite nice. Let's be honest, most of the people wearing this or using it are not going to be diving to 4,000 feet or anywhere near that. So, I mean, realistically nowadays, for example, I dive quite a lot, you know, out in Asia, and, you know, I use a Sunto dive computer, which tells me way more information than, you know, a dive watch is going to tell me. And it has, you know, dozens more functions that are more useful. So onto the bezel. I mean, we've got the ceramichrome bezel. Apologies for the coughing this morning, got a bit of a sore throat. Yeah, the bezel is amazing. I mean, compared to the other review I did the other day of my Seamaster, it's just night and day. I mean, turning this, firstly it's just so solid, and the clicking, I mean, comparing that to any other, if I compare it to some of the other models I've got, so like I mean, this is titanium, and you know, this is a very solid watch, but let me try actually, this is quite hard to turn. I really bothered using it. Yeah, by far the Rolex has the best bezel, and obviously it's going to last a long time. It's not going to scratch. You've got the sapphire case, and also the red lettering here. So that was a throwback to some of the early Sea Dwellers. So the Sea Dweller has had an interesting history. It's I think some of the right now, I think around 67 was the first Sea Dweller, and they were around, they had a rating of around 500 meters. They also didn't have the helium escape valves, and that was added a couple of years later, around 71 or 72. I'm not a watch expert, I just love watches, so feel free to correct me in the comments. Yeah, and then there was obviously that competition everyone knows about between Omega with their Ploprof, and then you know, the way they were trying to make their watches withstand the deep, and then how Rolex did it. So I have to say the Rolex definitely executed that in a much more sophisticated way, because this watch looks and feels amazing. On the back, unlike the you know, other Submariners, this does have some lettering. The sunlight's behind me, all coming up behind me, so hopefully you can still see that. Then onto the clasps. I mean, sorry, not the clasps, the strap. The strap feels just buttery smooth. It's just so, I don't know if it's the way it's joined or the metal, but I mean, obviously Rolex, you know, manufacture all their in-house metal and gold. So this is a like a stainless steel, but Rolex has a special name which is completely slipped my mind at the moment. But you know, you're meant to be able to you know, wear this in the ocean and not have to wash it off like you would other things. So it's meant to be very hard wearing. And then the clasp. So you've got the extension, and the clasp is brilliant. It's just the click and how smooth that is. It's just so comfortable. So I haven't bothered using it, but the little extension thing, I actually removed I had the guys remove the extension part, so I haven't actually used. Let's see if this works. I think I just push it down and then I'll figure that out later. But there is another extension which you can unclip, and it's about 2 inches extra. I just removed that. I'm not going to use that, so there was no point having it on there. I think it's in here somewhere. Yeah. So it's a much longer piece, and that's the idea of that, is it goes through over wetsuits. So turn it on this side. I mean, these sides are just beautifully polished as well. Crown. Just put it on the wrist. Take the Omega Speedmaster I'm wearing today. just zoom out a bit. So this does not, I mean, I don't know if you really tell, but this does not feel big at all. I mean, it's, I would say that the Tudor is more of a slab-sided watch, and that's like 42 mm. And yeah, this just wears so nicely as like an everyday watch. I mean, the clasp is just so comfortable. It doesn't really feel heavy, and I mean, I have a preference for big watches. If I look at you know, compare that to a Breitling Avenger, then obviously this Avenger looks massive. Comparing to something like an Omega, there isn't a big size difference. So the moving up from you know, the 40 to 43, if anyone's thinking about it, I'd highly recommend it because it's a great solid watch. In terms of investment, I mean, I'm just buying this to wear it. You know, there's a lot of discussion about the upcoming Rolex event in April. I think it's April 7th. You know, will this carry on being produced? One of the earlier models, you know, only ran for 3 years, so I just put catch the light. Yeah, it could be a candidate for being, you know, discontinued. What will happen if, you know, well, we know what happens to all Rolexes. If a model gets discontinued, the prices shoot up. So a Rolex is, let me just move the camera over to the light a bit. A Rolex is, you know, always going to be a good investment. I think that's how I kind of justify a lot of these purchases, by saying I'm not really spending the money's just on my wrist. So yeah, it's not gone, you know, it's just sitting on your wrist for a while. So yeah, overall this is an amazing watch. There's only one problem though. I've now got an opportunity to buy a deep sea. So this watch is so good, I'm just very curious about, should I get the deep sea as well? Because it's kind of hanging over me thinking, you know, this one can go 4,000 feet. But it's not the best and the biggest Rolex. And I'm curious to see how the other one kind of fits on my wrist and how it looks. Yeah, this is a solid watch. You'll never have a problem, and you know, it'll just obviously last your entire lifetime. But the deep sea has always, I owned one a long time ago on the previous model, and I didn't like the strap. You know, the strap was too thin. Now I haven't tried one on, but you know, it's meant to be fixed in terms of, I think there's 2 or 3 millimeters extra on the clasp of the deep sea. So it sounds like a much more balanced watch. And after, you know, buying this one, which is amazing, I'm kind of curious to try the other one. So anyway, let me know what you think. Will it be discontinued this year? Do you want it to be discontinued, or do you think they should carry on producing it? Do you own one of these, and how have you found it? Overall, brilliant watch. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy it, like and subscribe. Thanks very much.